John Cena's retirement, which I don't know. I think it hit people hard, um, because he came out and we thought it was just going to be like another surprise. But when he came out with the towel, the last time is now. I think it just hit people because for a large part of wrestling fans, he was a big part in the ruthless aggression era, the PG era. He was the company guy. Now, was he always liked? No, no. Not a lot of people like Cena in his run when he was winning a lot. I would agree that I think he, you know, should have put like Wade Barrett over and a few other people. But, nonetheless, Cena has been a guy that carried the WWE flag for so long. It's one of those things where when I think of WWE, I do think of John Cena because he was the company guy. He still is in a way. He still is a big staple of WWE. And I think that transitioned to Roman Reigns with his tribal chief run, you know. But with for Cena's case, Cena was, the guy for 20 years doing it full time. And it's quite crazy to think about next year's WrestleMania lineup because you could have John Cena, CM Punk, and The Rock all on the road to WrestleMania. Pretty big to think about. Now, if you've, keeping up with the channel, I did make a video about John Cena and his retirement tour. A lot of people thought when he said WrestleMania will be my last, people thought that WrestleMania was going to be where his last match is at. That is incorrect. John Cena will be wrestling all the way through 2025. Now, he's got a lot of dates, 30 to 40 dates through 2025. So when you think about it, Cena is going to have his last Royal Rumble, his last Chamber, his last WrestleMania, like he said, but he'll also have his last Money in the Bank, his last SummerSlam. He's going to, what it looks like he's going to be full time for a long time in WWE for that last year. And that's going to be where it kind of ends at, which to me, um, it's it's kind of like a bittersweet thing because I'm sad that his run is coming to an end, but you're kind of grateful for those memories and those matches that and the moments too that John Cena had. Um, let's put up James's comment up here. There's been there's been a bit of a generational change over the last few years. Cena retiring makes sense. I'd rather him retire now than go for too long, like say the Undertaker. Um, and th- I'm thank you for bringing up Undertaker. Undertaker, his retirement kind of tour. It wasn't really a tour, but you knew he was winding down with matches. When Undertaker was still wrestling, I would probably say after he wrestled Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, I thought he should have just retired. I thought he should have just retired, and that would have been it. That would have been it, and it would have kind of been over. I was not a big fan of the match, but I just thought it's time. Like he's done in the ring. Then he came back and he did those series of matches. Some of them actually were pretty good, and then some of them weren't as good. And that's covered a lot in that Last Ride documentary that came out a couple years ago, which is a really good watch. But when it came to Taker, I was in the camp of he should just retire. But I look back at those memories, and to me, you don't realize like this could be Undertaker's last match. To tell a quick story, I was at Extreme Rules 2019 when he teamed up with Roman against Drew and Shane McMahon. Wasn't a big fan of it. I saw him make his last pay per view appearance when he was an active wrestler at Elimination Chamber. It was right before COVID-19 happened. It was the last pay per view with fans, with, before COVID-19 started, obviously. And, he came out to help Aleister Black beat AJ Styles. Why I'm mentioning this is because I didn't really, take in the fact that this could be it for this wrestler. And I think it could be said when it comes to, fans of football or baseball, when they see, kind of people have their last stand almost, their last game. It's it's kind of surreal almost to think about when these things do happen. So the point I'm trying to make is that I think a lot of people, there's been the please retire chant that people have used on wrestlers. I don't like doing that. I think, it's ultimately up to the wrestlers when they decide they want to retire. But it's also a thing of you don't realize sometimes when you're in the good moments of something. And for a lot of the time I was watching wrestling at the point when Taker was winding down, I didn't realize like this is kind of it for him. Sure, the match with Goldberg and DX, wasn't good. I could say that, really, really strongly because they just weren't good matches. But I mean, we got him and AJ Styles. It was the perfect way to go out and close a great chapter of The Undertaker's career. So I hope that kind of happens with John Cena. I hope people realize, and I think people already do, is that John Cena's retiring. He's going to go to Hollywood and he's going to make a lot of money and he's going to be a big success in Hollywood full time without coming back to wrestling, other than coming out maybe for Hall of Fames or certain appearances. But he won't be wearing jorts. He won't be wearing the T-shirt and the hat anymore. It's it's kind of big to think about. So when you see John Cena wrestle, take into consideration that these are going to be his final matches. Think about those nostalgic moments that you had with this character, and this character is starting to go away. Now that we got that kind of out of the way, and I said that, I want to talk about who John Cena could wrestle along this run. There's been people talking about him and Randy Orton wrestling. I think that's perfect. At some point, I do think Randy Orton is going to turn heel on Cody Rhodes. I just have a feeling that that's going to happen. Um, you know, whether that happens now or in the future, I'm not sure. But with Orton being a heel, I think they could totally run John Cena versus Randy Orton again. John Cena versus Randy Orton is a must have in this final retirement tour. Um, One final match between those two, I think, is fine. It doesn't need to be three matches, doesn't need to be five, just one match. Maybe even his final one is against Randy Orton. Orton, obviously, to me, would be a big choice to just have across this final run. Um, you know, I really think that him and Orton should have one more go around because of the history they have. Um, CM Punk, I think CM Punk, as long as he stays healthy, would be another guy that you could totally see him and Punk wrestle. I think these two would be fine in a ring together one last time. You got Adam Edge Copeland. Somebody asked me, why did you put Edge in this like list? And the reason why I say that is because number one, you never say never with professional wrestling. Everyone knows that slogan. But, to me, Edge wanted a well, not even to me, but Edge wanted a another match with John Cena before his career ended. I don't know how long Edge's contract is with AEW. I don't know any of that stuff. But if there was a match that I would like to see between AEW and WWE, if they crossovered and they kissed and maked up, not saying that the Tony Khan Triple H would, but I'm just saying the companies got together and were friendly, that Edge and John Cena should be something that they could consider doing, given the history. It would just be really nice. And I'm sure Edge would want that too, as well as Cena. And then you also have Cody Rhodes, which I think, given Cody could be still the champion. Um, you could definitely see Cody, defend the WWE Championship against, or sorry, Cody Rhodes defend the WWE Championship against John Cena. I think that could be something that WWE could definitely do as like one last chance for Cena to be the champion. We got a comment here. Let me turn the chat back on. I think Cena's final match should be a heel LA Knight that would get him over, says Rick. Interesting. Interesting. I don't know if LA Knight's going to turn heel anytime soon, if I'm being honest. I don't know if I'd want LA Knight to be a heel in WWE right now. I definitely think you might get to see John Cena versus Logan Paul. Don't think that'll be his final match. But I know, people have joked around with some other names that are kind of in the mid card right now. And I think they're going to fill this up. Cena's going to put over some talent, but Cena's also going to get a singles win. I think he will get that, at least the singles win that he's been talking about, because they've talked about that so much. John Cena hasn't been able to win a singles match in quite a long time. James said even Orton isn't going to be around that much longer, so Cena, Orton is a fair choice. Um, the other thing to consider, James, as well, is Orton said this uh, right as he came right back to WWE after the injury, was that he wanted to wrestle another 5-10 years. So I think Orton's still going to be around for a little bit. Now, obviously, he might run more of a part-time schedule as we get, you know, closer to him retiring. But I definitely think it's worth it to get an Orton and John Cena match in there, at least just, for one time. Other people I'd love to see, I'd love to see him step in the ring with Seth Rollins. I think Seth Rollins would be a great match. Um, you know, I'm trying to think of other people. I know some people might say, "Oh, you should wrestle The Rock." I don't think him and Rock really needs to happen. I think that moment at WrestleMania was more valuable than them having a match. That's just my take. Um, I mean, there's so many other people. I mean, him and AJ could have another match too. I mean, him and AJ would have a banger against each other. Rick says Seth Rollins to be a final opponent. It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting. Like I said, I would still personally stick to Randy Orton. I don't know if Seth would be a final opponent, but I think he would be on the road to the retirement tour. I think Cena wrestling Rollins would be great to see. Him wrestling AJ. He may even wrestle Rey Mysterio. He may even wrestle Dominic Mysterio. There's some people he hasn't wrestled yet, like LA Knight, who you mentioned. They may even do John Cena versus Drew McIntyre, which now I think would be a bigger match than it was when they did it back in 2019. There's a lot of different interesting avenues, but the other thing to consider is John Cena said he's going to be wrestling from January to December, and then that's it. Does WWE decide to have a December pay-per-view, or PLE, excuse me, they're called PLEs now, um, a December PLE to add to their pay-per-view rotation, or at least just for this year of 2025, and maybe add, maybe Starcade. Maybe Starcade. It was always in December. Maybe add Starcade. Could just be a John Cena memorial kind of show, a tribute show to John Cena. Could be something like that. I think it'd be cooler if they did bring out a big pay-per-view for John Cena's like final match. I don't think it would just be at the Survivor Series. The other thing to consider too is, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but injuries do happen in the world of professional wrestling, and like any other contact sport as well. Does John Cena, if John Cena, ooh, almost at the table, if John Cena does, get injured, does this postpone some of the tour that he's going to have? It could. It very well could. I hope not. But if it does happen, it could postpone some of his matches that he does want to have. I almost, feel like WrestleMania should be the destination where he ends his career. Um, and I almost think that, WrestleMania 42 would be that perfect destination. But again, if he wants to finish it in December, I think WWE should do something, big for Cena to have in December.